But what I'm trying to say is it's probably my favourite show to work on, because you have to use a lot of brain matter to make it, and you're not just going through the numbers like Geordie Shore. I could do that with my eyes closed, whereas with The Apprentice, it's down to them, and you never know what they're going to do, and it keeps you on your toes. It's long, hard days, but the crew are amazing.
Special guest episode.
This week's special guest is Jonny Wright, a writer, director and producer that Kevin met a few years ago when he was a stills photographer on one of his movies called Ethel with Miriam Margolyes. We discuss lots of movie concepts for short films and feature lengths, including the writing process and trying to break into the industry. We also delve into the reality TV work he's done, such as Geordie Shore and The Apprentice. This is a fun and interesting behind-the-scenes conversation on the entertainment and movie industry. We hope you enjoy. Welcome back, guys. Today we have another special guest episode, and we have writer, director, producer, photographer, Jonny Wright with us. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. Photography's hobby, not professional, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, but I know you do enjoy it. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I was going to introduce you to Drew, but you guys might have actually met when you did the Ethel, when we did the short film for Ethel, and I was the stills photographer on it. I just left London, so I couldn't make the premiere at the cinema for the cast and crew, and Drew, because I was going to be come with Trish, and Drew went in my place and met Trish and that. So you probably wouldn't recollect.
Did meet, but I was probably a bit intoxicated.
Yeah.
By the end of that night.
Yeah.
There was quite a few screenings of it, though, I remember, because it was quite a short film. I think there was a few screenings throughout that evening, if I recall.
No.
Was it just a one-off?
Yeah. You were more drunk than me.
Yeah. I saw it a few times that evening.
Yeah,
just going through my head again. No.
Yeah, we may have just showed each other on phones and stuff, but yeah, there was only one at the Odeon. We had the Odeon showing as our big piece, and then we went to the pub and got drunk. And that was basically it. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't join you for that bit, but I did see Elijah and some of the other.
So that was the screening. They're really lovely, actually. I don't know if many people know about it, but the Odeon are really keen on promoting short films. So if you ever want to have a short film at a cinema, just get in touch with their team. They're actually in this building where I work at the moment. Get in touch with their team, and they will do what they can to facilitate screening one of your films or short films within their cinemas, provided it doesn't interfere with their actual screening. So we had to do it quite early in the morning, but it was nice to see it on the big screen. Actually, that was a nice day.
You should tell your guys about that, Drew. Drew's an actor, by the way. He's just been in a short film recently as well. So that I wasn't going to mention it yet, but Jonny, you mentioned that you might be looking to do another short film.
Yeah, well, I'm always looking to do another short film. It's just about finding the money to do it, right?
What's really involved with it? Because the average person just thinks, if you've got an idea and a few people involved, you just crack on and do it. But there's so much more complexity to it.
There's a whole heap of luck involved. So Ethel came about by chance, really. Me and Trish were working on a TV show for Channel 5, I think. We were basically driving around Europe, and we were part of what we called the night team. So you had the day team that was following these 4 American couples driving around Europe, and having spats and stuff, with getting lost and all that sort of stuff. A bit like a wacky races type thing. They were like racing to checkpoints, although they weren't allowed to be saying they were racing because it meant dangerous driving. So they were getting to checkpoints. The first of the checkpoint got a treat. the last of the checkpoint didn't get a treat, and got a forfeit of some description. But so that was the day team, and then the night team was myself, a couple of other shooting directors, a researcher or two, and Trish was our night production manager. So she was doing all the logistics, but traveling with us. And obviously, as a little traveling band that are doing daytime roadie and then nighttime shooting, we all got quite tight, and found out a bit about each other. And I told Trish that, I never wanted to be in reality TV, never wanted to be doing this. I want to be a writer director. And she was like, oh, well, I only do this to be between jobs, and I usually do like producing films and always looking out for stuff. So send me some scripts. I sent her a couple of features. She passed, but she did like. I then sent her a couple of shorts, and she liked Ethel, so she then gave it to her business partner, Sasha. Sasha liked it, and then for about 2 years we went back and forth, because originally Ethel was a non-verbal, non-dialogue short that just went between two different worlds. And then Sasha was like, this needs dialogue. You need to rewrite it with dialogue. So I rewrote it, went through a lot of rewrites with them as two mentors, telling me what works and what doesn't work. And then about 5-6 years later, we ended up making it. So to answer your question,
It took that long.
Yeah. So
wow.
I wrote the first intonation of, is that the right word? Of Ethel 10 years. It had been 5 years before I met Trish that I wrote my first version of it.
Was the theme always Alzheimer's? Was that
the theme was always
concept?
Alzheimer's? So it was a true story. When I was about 17, 18, I was coming back from the cinema. I used to work at the cinema. We'd been doing like a late night screening for us to watch a film. I think it was The Matrix or something. We watched something before going home, because that was one of the perks. And I found this old lady on a roundabout in a 90, and she was telling me she was going to go see her mum who lived down the road. So I was like, there's something not right here. She's in a 90, she's got no shoes on, all that sort of stuff. So I walked her home, back up the way she'd come from, which was luckily just around the corner from where I lived at the time. Her name was Pearl. I think she was 92. I found out from her family the next day or next week. And I got into her house, and there was Post-it notes everywhere. And yeah, she had some sort of dementia, Alzheimer's, some sort of cognitive issues, and it just struck a chord. And at the time, I was a big weed smoker, and liked the idea of juxtaposing like what people thought of as weed smoking hoodlums, being one side, and a frail like old lady as the other, and what would usually happen in that sort of scenario. And yeah, brainstormed it with a couple of friends over a few joints, and we eventually got to this sort of like, it should just be you lead the viewer down one path, and it ends up being something else, which is what the film ends up being. But yeah, it was all supposed to just be like a visual, like almost like a cinema photo roman type style, just seeing glimpses of two sides of a world that are slowly coming together, and then there's a turning point. So that was the background to the story, and I did that when I was about, fucking hell, I was young. That would have been about 18 to 20. I wrote that whilst I was just about to go to uni. Sat on that whilst I was at uni, and then you just like to get back to the question. You're always just, so as a writer, you sit on stuff, right? I've got probably about 10 to 15 projects at the moment, all in various stages of writing. Some are outlines, some are one-liners on the back of a cigarette paper, some are fully fledged written first drafts or reviewed drafts, and then you just sit on them and wait until the right moment comes along, and you know when that right moment comes along, and then you like jump at it with everything. And if it doesn't work, which 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work, but at least you tried in that moment when everything's aligned for it to work, which is what happened with Ethel. I put my neck above the parapet, said, "Here's my scripts to Trish." Trish liked one, and it spiraled from there. There was moments when we were trying to make Ethel work that I threw my toys at the pram. I was eager to make my first film, right? And I threw my toys at the pram, called Trish up and went, "I'm doing it on my own. Nothing's happening. This isn't going anywhere. You guys aren't doing anything for me. You've had the script now for years and it's just sat there. I'm going to get a DSLR. I'm going to get my grandma and we're going to go and shoot it ourselves." And Trish was always like, "Jonny, trust me. I've worked in the film industry. It takes time. We are doing things. You don't know what we're doing, but we are trying to move things. So just bear with us. Something will come along at some point." Yeah. And then out of nowhere, Miriam had got attached, which was crazy. So through Trish had been looking at charities to try and attach the script to, because it deals with dementia. And she found this company, this charity called, I think they're called BAT.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And they essentially championed table tennis. I think they're called BAT. They championed table tennis as a way of helping dementia and cognitive issues because of hand-eye coordination. It just makes you use both sides of your brain or something like that.
It's cognitive, isn't it?
Yeah. So
that was the weirdest thing about the first day I arrived on set. Is there was a bunch of people playing table tennis. I was like,
we had a table tennis
here?
Table set up at every shoot location.
Also, just for clarity, you mentioned Miriam. Just for the listeners, that he's referring to Miriam Margolyes, the infamous,
lovely lady,
and absolute legend as well.
Amazing. I've got some funny stories behind the scenes from her, which I'm sure she won't mind me saying. They'll come later.
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
But yeah, so Miriam was attached through BAT. So BAT had this lovely gentleman, I can't remember his name now. Oh, it might have been Ian. I don't remember his name, so I'm not going to try and guess. But part of their remit was commissioning a portrait painting of actors that had been that had portrayed people that had dementia, Alzheimer's, something along those lines, painting them in using an artist, and then auctioning that painting off, and the money earned from the auction went into the charity. So they were able to approach Miriam because they'd done stuff with Dame Judi Dench, they'd done stuff with some big names, and so they had the clout to get through past the agent. And they approached Miriam, and God bless Miriam. She read the script, loved the script, but didn't want her picture portrait painted. So she went, "I'll do the film, but I'm not doing the painting." So we got Miriam that way. And as soon as we got Miriam, I've been bugging my mate Richie for years to send the script to Stephen, Professor Green. And he never did, because he was like, "I'm not going to give him some mate's script because it could be a piece of shit." But as soon as Miriam attached, he was like, "Oh, you got Miriam? Okay, this might be a good script. I'll pass it on to Stephen if you want." So I was like, "Yeah, for sure. I've wanted him since day dot." And so it got to Stephen Pro Green. He liked it, so he came on as he's like a secondary character. He's not the main protagonist, but he's part of his gang. And it was just good to have those sort of faces in there. Because, Elijah's amazing. Elijah is the protagonist, Elijah Baker. He is amazing. I think he's been on your podcast, right?
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Elijah Baker's been on episode 59, so go back and listen to it. The man who's recently been in, a few years ago, been in The Batman and things like that.
Yeah, he's a good lad. I mean, there's a funny story behind that, actually, as well. Everyone on the shoot, apart from me, has been to Hollywood and been in Hollywood now, and I'm still waiting for my call.
It's coming.
So Elijah did Batman. Stephen has got like BAFTAs and the Brits and all sorts of stuff coming out of his ears. Miriam is Miriam. She's got all sorts of awards, doing all sorts of TV now, but obviously worked with Scorsese famously back in the day, did Romeo and Juliet, Harry Potter, all those sort of films. And then you've got Hussein Manawar, who is a poet. He's another part of the gang. And Hussein's great. Love him. Very lovely chap. But he's had dinner with fucking Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, he went on, I think he went on Oprah Winfrey as his poet self. Tom saw that and invited him for lunch. Yeah, so now it's just me, the guy that wrote the film, got everyone together and directed it. I'm still waiting for my call up.
You built the boat and everyone just fucked off on the boat. You're like, all right, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
It was really strange because when I arrived on set, you'd already been doing a couple of days, I think. And I'm just a photographer, so I'm just in the background anyway, so I'm not really important in any sense of it. But I was sat down in the inside bit when everyone was just having tea and cake in the morning or whatever, and I was sat with Elijah Baker. I didn't know at this time he was the main role. He was just a guy I sat next to, and Hussein was there and Pro Green, and obviously I only know Pro Green. I was just looking at him going, what the fuck is he doing here? I didn't get the memo of who's about to be there. And I really got on well with Elijah, is like so chill. But Hussein I thought was brilliant. And it was literally 2 days after we finished. Hussein was on like Good Morning Britain. And then he was doing a live show, which I went and photographed and hung out with him at in King's Cross. And he just skyrocketed. He would just seem to be, I'd never heard of the guy. 2 days after I met him, he was everywhere.
Yeah.
But that said,
really talented guy.
Apart from you, Elijah Baker was like so good on set, wasn't he? Because he was like, I don't care whose names are what, or if it's Miriam or Professor Green, I'm just going to be me, and we're just going to have fun.
First, Trish wanted Elijah to be Jack. Trish wanted wanted Elijah to be JJ Hamlet's role as the carer. And it was a bit political. They had allegiances with JJ through him working on a few of their feature films and doing stuff with him. And also, at one point, there was a concern that by putting a mixed heritage guy in the role of the guy that you deem to be the bad guy, we are leaning into that and only fueling the fire for it. And I was like, and I don't want to really give anything away. I'm like, you're missing the point, Trish. He's not that guy. Like when you get through the arc, it turns out that he's actually on a different path. And so also actually by putting him in the role that JJ ended up playing, we are making him the bad guy, because that is the bad guy.
Yeah. But you are kind of leaning into that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because you're leaning into the bias of the audience.
Well, that's my jam, really.
The posh white kid. Oh, he's the good guy that's looking after it. But is he? You know.
Yeah, that's my jam with my writing. I like to lean into the viewer's bias and use the viewer's bias against them. I've got another script that I've been working on for years. It's actually come out really good now. But it was called Fix. And it was about a guy that I used to live with, Liam, and he was a heroin addict, and he would steal my stuff and sell it, and I'd say, it's not you, it's the beast in you that's doing it. I know it's not you, you're a nice guy, good guy, but it's this beast that you've got to feed inside you, that needs the money to get your fix. So I use that as a jump off point. I'll come back to that. That
sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, that is it's manifest. It's evolved and become something else now. But back into the Elijah thing, and it is that, like, the other thing that was good to have Elijah as our main protagonist was that the connection between him and Ethel at the end. You don't see coming because of his mixed heritage and audience bias. A white old lady can't have a mixed heritage grandson when clearly that's spoilers. Sorry. When clearly they can, because to get mixed heritage, you have to have a white mother or a white father, right? So
Yeah.
that has to come from a white grandma and so forth. So, but by using that bias against the viewer, they never saw the no one to this day has ever gone, I saw that coming. No one has ever said to me, apart from the people that watch it after listening to this.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, if we had a link to the film, hopefully we're not giving away spoilers.
No one has ever said that. Wow, no one has ever said when it got to that bit, I knew that was coming. Like it does come out of nowhere, which is quite nice. And it was Sash. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, sorry. We were talking about that before you came on. I was just saying how I love like the twist is so profound. How like we follow one narrative and then it absolutely just flips on you. Like it's really powerful.
Yeah,
really powerful.
But then if you watch it again, all the clues are there. All the clues are there. Like I need more money. I need more money. This, that, the watch, everything. All the clues are there. Yeah, watch it again, and like you know what happens. It is a different beast.
Is there a link to it though? Could we know it all?
Yeah, it's on this
episode, so people
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube somewhere. Yeah. That took a long time to get it onto YouTube actually, and that was Trish and Sasha trying to protect me and trying to get something bigger than a YouTube release for it. It almost made it onto Channel 4. With Channel 4 at one point, I remember being in Malta filming some reality TV show, and Trish calling me and going, "We've got a meeting with Channel 4 and Alzheimer's Society. Is there anything you want us to say?" And I was like, "Just get it on the channel. I don't care what time, I don't care what slot. Just get it on there." And yeah, Channel 4 were going to do like an Alzheimer's sort of week, documentaries, short form, long form films, all that sort of stuff. And Alzheimer's Society wanted to piggyback on that, or were partnering up with Channel 4, and we came up as one of the ideas for a short form piece in the middle. But Alzheimer's Society couldn't get past the drugs element of the film, which is ridiculous. Which is why I wrote it. Right, I wrote it because Alzheimer's doesn't just affect middle class white people that don't have any skeletons in their closet or don't or families that are not of a moral standing. Like it affects everyone, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a crackhead or an upstanding model citizen. You might have a family member that is going to be dealing with Alzheimer's. So
that's really frustrating because they're just looking at the optics rather than the creativity and how it would hit an audience.
That was a frustrating thing. It was like exactly that. The optics are, we don't want to be associated with drugs, but it's like, but I would hazard a guess at 20%, 30% of the people that are dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia somewhere within their family are dealing with alcoholism or are dealing with drug addiction or are dealing with something. Might not be the person that's suffering or dealing with the Alzheimer's, but somewhere in that family line there'll be some sort of misfortune and issues. So yeah, that was annoying. And yeah, so it almost got onto Channel 4 but never made it. Then we did the festival circuit. It made a few festivals, won a few awards, which was nice. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to them due to working on reality TV shows. It's the story of my life. And then it kind of sat on a shelf for a while, and it couldn't do the festival circuit anymore because it had gone past like the sort of most festivals you need to have been made within the last year. And there's so many talented people on the shoot actually. Like even in the post, like we got on site doing all of our color grading on site, do loads of amazing films. They came on for free. We had so much help, and the editor, she's a known name. It eludes me now because it's so many years ago and I'm so tired from working at the moment. But I remember her. She did a werewolf film on a train, I believe. Wasn't Howl, it was another one years ago. So the caliber of people working on it was immense. And yeah,
wait, was it Creep?
It might have been Creep actually. Yeah,
and it had Oh man, it had the guy from my drama school in it. Sean Harris.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the posters like bluey greys and a red.
Yeah, and it's set on the underground, and he's like that kind of monster thing.
Yeah, she did that. She was the editor on that.
Amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, we had a big caliber of people working on it. But yeah, so it did the festival circuit, and then kind of fizzled into obscurity. And Trish loved it. Sasha loved it. I tried to start writing, which I figured out this is what I mean about sitting on stuff until something hits you. I was driving the other week. I was working up in Manchester on a reality TV show, and
there's got to be a TV. There's got to be a TV show, man. A reality TV show. It pays the bills.
I was listening to. I just started to listen again to Everyone You Know. I don't know if you know that band. They're called Everyone You Know.
No.
Called Everyone You Know. They're really
Everyone
cool.
You Don't Know.
Really, really cool. And they've got a song called The Drive. And it tells a story. It's a very social realist sort of. They're a very social realist sort of group. They talk about things that are within our generations and issues that are going on, but in a very cool and understated sort of housey, trip hop sort of way, garagey almost. Yes, yeah, they're great. Yeah, She Don't Dance is great. The Drive's great. Just for the Times is great. When the Sun Comes Up is great. They're amazing. But the drive tells a story of like four lads smoking weed in their car, driving, having a good time when they're like 16. And that's what I used to do. But then the story changes and gets darker and darker as you go on. And then the end, I don't want to say what the end is because I can't really remember clearly. But that song hit me and I was like, fuck, that's the end to the feature. That's the end.
To your fix.
It's not to fix to Ethel the feature. I've been trying to write Ethel as a feature for ages, and could never get the final act. Could never figure out how it was supposed to end. And then I heard that song, and I was like, I'm going to have to steal what they've done and put it in as the end to my film because it's good and it's something you don't see coming, and it's a flip on the narrative again, which is nice.
That is all art. Nothing is be pure original.
Yeah, and as they steal, it'd be used as a jump off point to have a similar sort of vibe.
The artistry and the creativity is finding those nuggets from all over the place and making it make sense.
Which is kind of brings us into Fix actually, which is Fix. So Fix started as a pure story that like I said, had a housemate who was a heroin addict. He stole my stuff, and I could see that it wasn't him. It was this beast. So I wrote this werewolf social realist film. So it's a social realist piece, but it has a werewolf in it. And it was all about this guy trying to find his fix, and the audience are supposed to see a junkie, train spotting style junkie. The whole thing's train spotting throughout. It's a little bit like Panic in Needle Park, just walking around trying to find a hit. You don't know why he's trying to find a hit. You're like, why are we following this guy? It's just some reprobate who's looking for his next score. But there's a whole lore and mythology that I wrote around it. He's trying to find this drug called mist, which is short for mistletoe. And if you don't know, in my research and in werewolf lore, silver is obviously something that stops werewolves, but also mistletoe. Mistletoe is a something a little bit like garlic for vampires. Doesn't kill them, but repels them.
Okay. So you wouldn't have any werewolves around Christmas time.
No. So this mist, this fictional drug that I made up, is essentially a composite of mistletoe and some sort of silver. That is a highly addictive drug to people that have lichen issues. And so as a werewolf, you want to consume this drug to stop yourself from turning into a werewolf, but then you're hooked on it. So either you become a fucking horrible monster that kills people, or you become a junkie that stops yourself from killing people. That's your choices.
You're a monster or a monster, depending on whether it's society or a human actor.
So that was the jump off point for this short film, and it was very youngly written, and there's lots of like horrible druggy man in there. I need my hitman, blah blah blah. And the sellers are Eastern European, sort of Albanian type gangsters wearing trackies, chains, yeah. Very stereotypical, but they're Eastern European for a reason, not because they're Eastern European and all Eastern Europeans in this country are selling drugs, but because that's where Dracula comes from. So they're vampires. So you got this vampire werewolf showdown, and the vampires have worked out a way, much like if you believe it, the American government used crack to suppress the black communities back in the 60s. They are doing the same thing with their rivals with this mist. So that was the first incarnation of that film, and yeah, it was again using the viewer's bias against them. That has always been my thing, using a viewer's bias against them. You're thinking this guy's just a druggie, and only until the last page, half a page of the script, does he turn into a werewolf, and you never see it. It's just a silhouette, and you're like, oh fuck, he was trying to stop himself from turning into that all the way through. So he wasn't a bad guy, he was actually a good guy trying to not be a bad guy. But then I've met an actor over previously, is Carlotta, and she was originally going to be cast to be the main protagonist because I wanted a female junkie and a female werewolf. And we almost got it being made, not being made, but we were just going to do it guerrilla style, make it ourselves. Never got round to it because of reality TV. And she called me out the blue about 2 years ago and said, I've not stopped thinking about that script. I want to make it. So I was like, okay, let's try and do it again. So we had some meetings together. I got a producer on board who is another writer director. She's made a really good short film called Lemon, and it might still be on Channel 4. Or it might have been BBC. It's either Channel 4 or BBC. It's one of the two. And it was made through I think it's called ISIS competition. It has to have her film. I think it's called Lemon.
Piece of fruit in it.
The parameters are that it has to deal with LGBTQ sort of issues and have a theme or storyline that revolves around that. And Lemon is this trans taxi driver. It's really good. Working through the night.
On Channel 4.
The Channel 4. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. It's great. Really, really good. So Kat, who was the producer on that, came on board because we'd known each other through reality TV. Geordie Shore, we'd worked on with each other, and we got to realise that we both do writing and trying to direct and do our own stuff. So I brought her on board. The three of us, me, Carlotta, and Kat, started brainstorming Fix, and it's now morphed into more. It's still got the drug element. It's still got this addiction element, but it's now morphed into something that's more of our time because Fix was of that time, and it's now more to do with misogyny and how, because she's a female lead, how women are seen through men's eyes, and how women feel walking home alone, and how they are deemed the weaker sex when that's not true, but they are deemed it. And again, it uses the audience's bias against them in certain ways. And I've not made it yet, so I don't want to give anything away. But that film has, it starts off feeling a bit French New Wave in its sort of style. She's spaced out. She's a bit of a mess. Protagonist is walking through. We want to shoot it in Dreamland in Margate. So she's walking through the fairground. She collapses, has a seizure. And this hero figure comes in. I always wanted it to be Benjamin Clementine. Comes in, speaks to her in French, pulls her away, and then they start to get this sort of like friendly, almost romance, almost some sort of soulmate-y sort of vibe going on. And then that starts to turn a bit darker, and you're like, is he good or is he bad? Meanwhile, people are dying from a werewolf attacking people. In the background, you never see it. It's just always like a background story. There was like a nice flash, Finchery sort of style flash of a blooded car on a lover's lane sort of vibe. And then that turns out then the film is the same as what it originally was. It's all about addiction, and she's an addict. He's trying to stop her from being an addict because he's got a history. His sister, I think, in the last iteration, died from overdosing on the drug that it's still missed. It's still that fictional drug, but it's less vampires versus werewolves and more of a human story. So yeah, that's fixed. I'm sitting on that at the moment. And my other thing when I'm writing bigger things is real life. Like I like to write about true stories because you've already got a template, right? Yeah, it's work smart, not hard. I've already know the beginning, middle, and end to this saga.
It's more interesting as well, like real
totally.
things. And then if it is mad, if it's batshit unbelievable, and you put the word true story on, everyone's like, what?
Yeah. Well,
that's incredible.
That's the one that when I was speaking to you about speaking to Blueprint, that's the one that they liked. So I had that meeting with Blueprint.
So Blueprint Productions, for the audience, is the team that brought us films like In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, and Banshees of Inisherin. So,
and All of Us Strangers.
And All of Us, which is incredible. James hated it, but
which is the reason that I can get into that again through luck and chance and thought. So I was working for reality TV up in Manchester on a show with another PD, with another PD, Bill, and we were out having lunch, sat in the car park somewhere eating a sandwich, no doubt, and we'll talk about what we want to do and where we wanted to be when we first started and where we are now, sat in a car park eating a sandwich, and I started telling him about my writing, and told him about this film idea, and then we kind of got on to. So my brother-in-law is Andrew Haigh, who wrote and directed All of Us Strangers. So I'd mentioned that he was him, and then Bill was like, "All of Us Strangers, is that the one with?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, my old schoolmate was the exec producer on that, and that story that you've just told me about, this true story, sounds something that'd be up his street. So let me give you his number, and then you two can."
Man, it's all networking.
I've never wanted to be on the coattails of Andrew. Andrew's done his thing and he's worked really hard to do his thing, and I didn't want to be that guy of like, "Oh, give me your breadcrumbs and find me a line in." I wanted to do it on my own. So to have found a common ground with this producer, Ben, I think his name was, Ben Knight. That wasn't Andrew, but was Andrew, if that makes sense. So Andrew was the mutual connection. So was Bill. Bill was Ben's old uni mate. Allowed me to open that door without asking Andrew for the favour. Andrew reads my stuff. He'll read my stuff and give me tips and tell me what works and what doesn't work. But it felt nice to have done that kind of on my own through sheer luck and determination.
That's great. And even like All of Us Strangers was it's kind of got the similar, not the same themes as yours, obviously, but the same theme of, I thought I was watching one film and then it was not that film by the end.
Yeah, it's a great film, actually.
I was going to ask, like, what is your favorite thing to do? Is it writing or directing? But I can clearly hear your passion about writing.
Love it.
Directing is just the tool to make you.
I love writing and I hate it at the same time. There's days where you get in the flow, and then there's days where you stare at an empty page.
I imagine you'd almost want to be a bit like a kind of Martin McDonagh, like doing both, so writing and directing.
Yeah, totally that. Which was the draw with Blueprint when you saw that Martin McDonagh had all of his work made by them. I was like, okay, these are the guys for me. 3 billboards they did as well.
Oh, that's incredible.
which is always in my top 3. So yeah, I went along to a meeting after finishing up in Manchester. Pitched every idea I've got under the sun. Ben didn't like any of them, and then I was like, he didn't like any of them. It was a general, right? It was just to get him to know. It was a first date. Imagine it as a first date.
Yeah.
They're getting to know me. I'm getting to know them. Do we like each other? Can we work on something?
And what bits did they like of your conversation? Even if they didn't like the full plot, which bits did they like? And then
well, this is the thing. They didn't really. None of the ideas that I had in my locker really resonated with them. They won't touch a short, so all my shorts are out the window. I've got a feature that I'm trying to work on at the minute, which is using Scottish law, and it's kind of like, you know, Babadook is all about
depression.
Film, all about depression. It's a story about depression.
Amazing.
I've got an idea for a film based on grief, that uses horror to portray it. So the beast feeds on grief. And it all came from listening to a podcast called Morbid, which is a great true crime podcast. And the Faux Filet, I think they're called the Faux Filet. I always worry that I'm getting this wrong. That's just a cut of beef or something. But the Faux Filet, Le Faux Filet, The Fire Within, it translates to from French. And in New Orleans, in America, the Faux Filet are these light orbs that are in the bayous and flash and draw strangers into the bayous and drown them, which is exactly the same thing as wisps. The will o' the wisps in Scottish folklore. The will o' the wisps do the same thing. They draw you in. They draw lost souls into the locks, and they die. But once I've done a bit deeper research, because that was the initial spark, and I was basically started writing it for New Orleans and the Faux Filet, and I was like, fuck doing it in America, I'll do it in the UK, and we'll make a British film of it. The wisps, literally, they're the same folklore but different cultures telling the story. I thought where I was going with this. The wisps, the grief, yeah. So the fillet and the wisp, they actually feed on like they're lost children's souls. So they're dead children, malevolent dead children that are pranksters and tricksters that want to do harm. But they focus on
from Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah, but they focus on grief and drawing you out, and there's sort of like iron like surrounding your room with iron, stops them from getting in. But the story's about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and how a couple navigate that, and they move to the Scottish Highlands to try and have a better life and get away from the rat race of London. And then these wisps start to infiltrate them because of their unprocessed grief and guilt from losing a baby. So that's that I'm working on. So I had that in my locker, but I couldn't pitch that because I didn't have a fully. What you're always told before you go for generals is like, don't pitch stuff that you haven't got that you can give them tomorrow, which I still did. I'm still working on it now. Well, this is it. Like my last. We've been talking for about an hour and a half, and my last gasp was like, I have got this true story I've been working on, and his ears pricked up, and I went, there's this case in America that was the first televised, and I'm scared to say it because it's a very, very good idea, and but then it's already been made into a podcast. John Hamm is in the podcast. I think it's called An American Hostage, I think is the podcast. So this story is phenomenal. It's 1972, Indianapolis. A guy called Tony Kuritzis feels like his bank manager, and back in those days, banks weren't Barclays and stuff. They were rich families that would bankroll you, in America at least, give you some money, You could go and buy some land, and then that became your mortgage, and you paid them back. So this small family firm, the Halls, Dick Hall and his father, I think it was Dick Hall Senior, had bankrolled this Tony Karitzis to buy this plot of shrubland, and he kept on missing his payments. But he got paranoid and thought that they were trying to rip him off and take the land back. So through his paranoia, he ends up storming into the office, taking Richard Jr. hostage, and he's like 35, 40 when he's not a kid. He's a fully grown adult. Puts a noose, like a dead man. Do you know what a dead man's trigger is? Puts a dead man's trigger around Richard's neck. So it's like
fine,
a
but if he pulls, then it.
Yeah, so it's basically essentially got a sawed-off shotgun against his neck with a noose around his neck. The noose goes to the trigger finger on the gun. So if Tony was jumped by police outside, the gun goes off, Richard dies. If they shoot Tony, the gun goes off, Richard dies. So the police are like helpless. They can't do anything to stop this hostage situation happening. But the great thing about this story, and I found it as a picture just jumped out at me one day when I was scrolling Facebook, and this was actually like a memory post. The first picture, because I called it 63 hours back in the day, from 10 years ago, popped up when I first started writing this, and I've still not finished it. This was the one that he liked. This is the one that Ben liked. He went, this one has got scope. It could be small or it could be massive. But it was the first televised hostage situation, live televised hostage situation, whereby the American news crew is all gathered around his house, taking photos, filming him. He held press conferences with a gun to this guy's neck, took him back into the apartment, and he was so paranoid. The only person he trusted was a American radio host by the name of Fred Heckman, and Fred agreed to do all the negotiations, but the one stipulation was it had to be broadcast live on radio. So he's doing all these phone call hostage negotiation talk down sort of scenario for a man's life whilst broadcasting it to people having their cornflakes in the morning. It's like a mad story, and it was 3 day hostage situation. That just gets crazier and crazier.
I think there's a big appetite for these sort of retro stories and things that don't make sense in today's world. That hostage situation wouldn't happen. Like you just, it's impossible. Pretty much.
There's a great documentary on Amazon actually called Dead Man's Line, all about that scenario. So I've watched that prior. I sent it to Trish and Sasha, and they were like, "This is amazing. Let's try and jump on it." I tracked down Dick Hall Jr. And wrote him a letter saying, "You're the only surviving person of this story left. Want your blessing to write it as a script." I got a letter back from his attorney saying Dick Hall has never and will never talk about this period of his life. He never ever spoke about it when he spoiler alert, when he got freed. But then a year later he wrote a book. So I was like, my God, like there's something in everything that I identify. There is something there that is in the zeitgeist, in the public sort of zeitgeist. So
that's why he didn't give you the blessing, because he's like, not giving anyone blessing until my book's published.
Yeah. So the closest thing to it is probably the one with George Clooney that Jodie Foster directed. Money.
With Jack O'Connell.
Yeah, Money. Is it Money Monster?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's set in present day, and it's a news group, and he takes a hostage.
I thought the Munich one was quite similar, though. You know, the one that took place around the Olympics.
It's September 5th.
Yeah, that was 72 as well.
And they've really done it now with one of the Skarsgårds.
That's September 5th. That's called. Yeah, or 5th of September or something like that.
What's crazy is, if you watch the film Munich with
Steven Spielberg's version.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's one with what's his name now? The Australian actor.
Banner.
Really good looking dude. Yeah.
Eric
Bana, yeah. It's from that side of it. Munich is a masterpiece if you get a chance to see it. But now to see September the 5th done in the way that they've done it, you've got complete different perspectives of that same story, two different places, because they're doing it with, he goes, if we go live with this is real people's lives. And they said every situation that happens with that negotiation, that could affect people listening, because real people might die. And he's like, hit record. This is going to be the biggest kind of moment ever in history. And they're like,
there's a great start to American Hostage, which is the podcast. And I don't know if it's true or if it's they've done it as poetic license, but apparently there was a Richard Pryor live. Richard Pryor was going to do a live set broadcast across TV, and in case he swore, they put a 7-second delay to the live so they could cut it and bleep it, and then they used that same technology for the hostage situation, just in case some guy got his head blown off. So it's a really, really, really intense story, and the photo documentary that you've only got online, if you search Tony Kuritzis, Kritsis, the amount of times I've had to spell that is ridiculous. But then it also goes like his trial is mental as well, because he sort of becomes this Robin Hood figure to so many people, like screwing the bankers, because like fuck the bankers, right? Like that's what people were thinking at the time. So he kind of becomes this sort of hero to some and villain to others. So there's so many layers to it. So that was the one right at the end of my meeting with Blueprint. He was like, when you finish that one, send that one to me, please, because that's got something in it.
And you're like, God damn it, I need to do loads of work.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck, I've got all of it. I know all the pieces to this story. And I've got 3 letters. There's like, I've kind of written it non-linearly. So there's the thing that happens chronologically, but intercepted to that a little bit like Nolan does with
Tenet or like
Oppenheimer. With Oppenheimer, the black and white stuff. There's a court case going on, so you see in the court case happening, telling parts of the story. But there's also another bit who she was the only person to get a quote from Richard. A 16-year-old girl, I think her name's Amy, got an interview with him for her yearbook. So there's also a nice little story about this girl trying to become a journalist throughout it, and she ends up getting the one line that he ever said, and he said something like, "I just want to forget it ever happened," and then that's your end line. That's literally right. Like real life writes itself. That's your end line. So yeah, I like to cheat and write real life stuff.
It's not cheating as well, because you can, even though it's interesting, you've got to find an angle that is unique and not been done before, or from some, maybe not from his perspective, from the girl's perspective, or from a hostage, or from whoever.
And if you do see the pictures, Tom Hardy and Stephen Graham would make fantastic leads if they watch or see this at all.
I mean, that's correct for any film, I think. But yes,
But if you look at their builds compared to the real life builds of these two gentlemen, they are like for like, could play those two characters well, just on there.
And they're both great actors.
I mean,
they're both phenomenal actors.
Stephen Graham in anything is sold to me. I don't have to know a plot. I'm watching. Tom Hardy does do hit and miss occasionally, but Stephen Graham is 100%.
I think this would be more of his hits, because it's more straight. It's not silly voice makeup or anything like that. It's just him being him. So that one made their ears prick up, and I keep meaning to, but the show that I'm working on at the minute's got in the way for the last 2 months. So once I finish this, I've got an edit. That's a work from home edit on a new Channel 4 reality TV show.
I mean, to go into that a little bit,
and that's the name of this episode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to go into that, obviously, you clearly love writing and directing. Reality TV show, that's paying the bills more.
Yeah, that's the bread and butter, man.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah. So,
do you enjoy it? I mean, it must take you in some interesting places and interesting people.
Like I do make a joke of reality TV being reality TV, but man, like I've done so many amazing things. Being like with Trish, we drove around Europe. We went to Monaco. We went to Paris, Barcelona, Lake Como, all those sort of crazy places. And I mean, you only stay there for a day because you're filming. But I've done all sorts. Like,
and a shout out to Trish and Sasha, because they're both fantastic, and especially love Trish.
They never took me to Antarctica though.
Pardon?
Like they went to Antarctica. You know that, right? They did like an Antarctic scientific expedition.
No, I did know that.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They never took me.
I met up. We had we went to go for dinner. Me, Trish, and mate JD went to go for dinner a few months back in London, and we arrived a bit late and couldn't get dinner, so we just got hammered because there was no food served. But none of us had eaten all day. We were waiting for dinner, and the chef left early, so we just got hammered. But yeah, she was telling us about all her projects and stuff coming up, and she will be coming on here at some point. But
amazing! Yeah, Trish and Sasha are both legends. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have Ethel for a start. And I'm really, 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 really proud of Ethel. I watched it again a couple of months ago and showed it to a few new people. It makes most people cry, which is great. As a filmmaker, you're aiming for that with certain films, and that one does pull up those sort of things.
Genuinely, Drew was messaging me about Ethel when he saw it. Said it was like super powerful and really affected him and stuff. So
yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you know the story behind Whiplash, but they made a 10-minute sequence of Whiplash that they managed to get into a couple of festivals. Well, I think it got into not BAFTA or something, but anyway, it got picked up, and they really liked the concept of it. They used 10 minutes of footage to pitch the basically the feature length version. And I was just thinking, because Ethel is so good, and you've got a feature that you're working on, have you ever thought to kind of go on to one of those kind of like a funding thing, like help us fund this to kind of get it into a feature, but also try and resend that film, but to like Cannes or like, these ones where it's like,
there's the Cannes corner, isn't there?
Yeah,
something like that. So, but it's like the next step. It's not like you're not handing it in and going, "This is my short." You're like, "This is my sizzle section for the feature version of this really powerful movie."
I think whilst we were making Ethel, it was a lot of we did an Indiegogo FundMe type thing, and my God, they're hard. They are so like you have to have such a detailed plan before you even start that go button on a crowdfunder, because it's all about promoting your socials, getting interaction and getting people involved and basically begging people for money, right? So
also the numbers straight off the bat as well, so your project is trending, because this is the thing where they go, can you put money today, because then it looks like it starts to elevate, and people go, it's trending.
So I think we got a little bit of PTSD from that to never try and do it again for the future. But yeah, touching on because I have been making a bit of a joke about reality TV getting in the way of life, but it gives me my life as well, right? It allows me to afford all the things that I want to do. It takes me all over the world. I thrive off of it, really. Like, it's high intensity, stressful days. Each day is different to the next. And some days you go home, just like any job, really. Some days you go home thinking that was a good day at work. Some days you go home thinking that was a fucking shit day at work. I never want to do it ever again in my life. Make me do something else, please.
And how much control do you have over things? Like, are you I mean, obviously we all know reality TV is partial reality, not scripted, but given cues to react.
So
to you.
Geordie Shore is always the one that everyone says is scripted. And I did 4 years of Geordie Shore, 10 series, and I was PD from the start on that, and I was nighttime PD, so I was dealing with all the drunks and all that sort of stuff. We go into live nightclubs. We've been in nightclubs where people have been throwing glasses at us because they don't want us in there, and we are filming. Bless them, bless the cast. They are filming in front of a real live audience, because essentially we try and immerse them as much as we can, but we've also got to look after them. So you always end up having like a VIP rope, security stood on those ropes. So they end up becoming on a stage, even if they don't want to be on a stage, because we've had to just
they're highlighted, aren't they? Yeah,
we've done all the separation. Then we whack up our lights so we can see them, and then we've got the cameras in their faces. So they essentially become a bit of a novelty for everybody else at that venue at that time. but none of it's scripted as you'd think. Like, I don't go up to Chloe and say, you've got to go over there and say this, that, and the other. I would go up as a producer and say, remember last night when X did this? How did you feel about that? Oh, I didn't like it. I thought that they were really out of order. All right, well, why don't you go and tell them that you thought they were out of order for doing that last night? And then that's it. And then they go over, and whatever comes out of their mouth and whatever happens from that moment forth, we roll with. And sometimes it goes, we call it, I say goes off script. There never is a script, but sometimes it might not go the way you expect. So sometimes you send them over there and you kind of, you wanting like the climax to the episode, Chloe chucking a drink over someone because she got off with her boyfriend or something like that. Where actually what happens is she goes over, they have a heart to heart, they both hate the guy, they both walk over to the guy and both chuck a drink on the guy. Like, that wasn't how we expected it to go. We thought Chloe's nature was she's going to go over there and swill whoever. But the best nights are when that doesn't happen and something more natural happens. So it's not scripted, it's devised, and it's structured in a way that we know them inside out, and they hate to admit it, but sometimes we know them better than they know themselves on certain nights. But they'll always surprise us, and they'll always throw a curveball, and they're actually really lovely. Chloe's got a heart of gold. Like, deep down, Nathan is a pest, but I love him to bits. They're all amazing. Aaron, I had a lot of time for Aaron. Worked with him in another series where it was more laid back and more his life, and he showed a different side to himself there. So yeah, like, the reality TV isn't as scripted as people think it is.
Well, it's a mix as well, isn't it? Because they're natural performers, otherwise they wouldn't be agreeing to come on the show.
They're obviously cast for a reason,
so
right?
They're happy to egg it up or inflate the situation.
They are cast for a reason, and it is that. It's the big personalities. It's the ability to hold themselves amongst a load of other big personalities. But my job on those things are kind of just tweaking, just going, do you remember that? Or another show that I worked on more recently, Beyond Chelsea, which is like a spin-off show of Made in Chelsea, living with some of the girls that were originally on there, is that's a bit more set up, it's a bit more constructed. So they would be meeting an old friend for a drink, say, down at a local smoothie bar or something, with the kids, because they've got kids now, so kids are climbing all over them while they're having a chat. But before that chat, I'd say, right, Binky, these are the 5 points you need to just chat about. The good old days when you're doing this, that, and the other. Where you are now. Can you believe that you've got 3 kids? And did anyone ever expect you guys to become parents? Blah, blah, blah. Just at the top of the scene. Then cameras roll, which I'm shooting because that was a self-shot one. And then they just go and they just naturally talk like you would, like catching up with an old mate. All I've done is reminded them these are the main points that we don't want to dilly-dally. We've only got the space for an hour, so we can't wait until you get, because you know what it's like meeting an old mate. You might chat for 4 hours, but the main bulk of that comes in little bits. So all I'm doing is just distilling that into one cohesive bit that we can use within that hour. It's all natural, it's all real life, it's all stuff that they remember and their thoughts. I'm not telling them what they need to think or feel. I'm just reminding them of the bits that are important to us, because that's what we know the audience will care about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a strange one. So much writing the show, so how does that work in a weird way? Because even though it's kind of slightly improv, do you know what I mean? That's an interesting...
So the way it works, this isn't on Beyond or anything, more on Geordie this would happen. So at the end of Geordie, end of a night shift of Geordie, I'd finish at 4 with the team. I would then go away till about 5 writing my story notes for that day. What happened? And by story notes, it's just Chloe did this or Nathan did that. This happened. They didn't fight. They actually went over to the guy and both took their drinks over him. Blah, blah, blah. I write that up, send it off to a story producer. The story producer wakes up earlier than anybody else, collates all the information from the day before, and works out a new thread. So in that instance, and this never happened, this is just me making a hypothetical one up. In that instance, the girls are going to wake up having found a new bond, and they are now both against that boy, and boy is public enemy number one in the house because he's been running rings around everyone, and then he's got the groveling to do. So they work that out in the morning, and then they work out a few scenes from that. So it'd be boys wake up, he's in the doghouse, so he's gone outside to the gym just to stay away from everybody. Or maybe we get one of his boy mates to come in there and find out his side of the story. So he's got his right to reply, but in a more natural way than having another argument.
And
with
he's
one
aware
girl.
of this. It's not like you're talking to him in the morning and it's just crack on. You're like, just so you know, you're in the doghouse. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. You're in the, well, he knows he's in the doghouse. He got spoiled the night before. You're in the
caught that on
doghouse.
film, and that's what we're using.
Yeah. Why don't you go out to the gym and we'll send out one of your mates to come and have a chat, and then you can get your side of the story across to your mate.
They're actually quite talented actors as well, then, because it's real, but they're
it's just
channeling.
channeling.
With their reactors.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's that give and take of putting it on and also feeling the human emotion that you actually do feel, and being vulnerable enough to show that. Some of them don't want to and would guard that, whereas the ones that were more natural and freely open with their feelings, you usually got the better stuff from them because they had no filter.
Did you ever hear of Ricochet Productions?
Yeah, never worked for them, but heard of them. Yeah.
Do you remember the TV series called Posh Rock?
No.
Because I was involved in that when I was like 16. I was like 16 or 17 in Cornwall, and they brought me on board because they were filming like these posh people in this campsite that me and my mate Ben went to, and basically I overheard one of them go, "Oh damn, we're out of it was either like we're out of coffee or tea bags." So we had spare stuff in our tent. So I just being generous thought, oh well, we could give them some of our tea bags. Grabbed some tea bags, walked straight into the tent. Didn't realize there's all these cameras and lighting crew and camera there. Handed them some tea bags, and then I was like, "There you go, dude." And then I was about to leave, and they're like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" And they're like, "Are you here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just in the tent next door." And then for some reason, they were interested in me, and they started asking me questions. I said, "Oh, I do a bit of magic." They're like, "Can we bring you into the narrative and you become the guy's mate and you start teaching him tricks to try and find a girlfriend?" And I was like, yeah, okay. And then they asked if I had like any acting background and blah, blah, blah. And then I started being this guy's mentor in their narrative. And then they're like, right, you're gonna have a few drinks. You're gonna start chatting up all these women. You're gonna start doing card tricks to these women. He's gonna do card tricks to these women, but it's not going so well for him. Then there's this girl that's on a hen night, and I think she's a lesbian, and you're gonna try and get off with her. And I was like, what? And they had all these ideas for narrative, and this is actually an episode in Posh Rock.
Yeah.
And it's just, for example, like what you're saying, they give you ideas to run with. But yeah, man, I just thought I'd throw that in. Just
I never heard of that one, but like, like that's it. But my job is just throw in a little grenade and see if it explodes or not. Basically,
it creates drama, doesn't it? Because you're creating conflict and drama that makes it more interesting than people going, had fish and chips yesterday. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Watching the sequels. Yeah. You're like, what? This is so boring. And you need to create conflict and drama for it to be engaging for.
But I think TV's changed a lot since I started on Geordie. I mean, Geordie's changed a lot since Geordie was Geordie. They're now all adults and parents, and they go on holidays to get the new series. I don't work on it, but the new series is it's more like reunites rather than them living in a house. So they go away to, I don't know, Portugal or somewhere and have like a little, everyone gets together and airs a few things, but most of it is nicey nice sort of stuff. And like Beyond Chelsea we set out with the brief that we aren't here to do Made in Chelsea where they're arguing about boyfriends and exes and cheating and stuff like that. We really want to see their day-to-day lives and how they've matured as ladies and where they are now. And it was quite like, for the first week or so, you could feel the girls being like, when they're going to jump somebody out on us, when is it going to come? And it was like, it's not going to come. We are just following your lives, like whatever you're doing, be it buying a house, setting up a business, planning your mum's birthday party. We're just here to follow that. Like, we aren't here to catch you out. We aren't here to cause any drama, because people are so invested as you, as characters now, as people. It'd just be interesting to see how you guys live. And yeah, so it took them a while to.
A lot of audiences are voyeuristic these days. That's why, like, you know, simple programs where, like you said, it's not as exciting as like the Geordie Shore stuff might be. Because it's high drama.
And Beyond was great, actually. Beyond was one of the first, because I'm trying to get into my next rung of reality TV as series director. So that's all about the pictures, right? You stop really thinking about the editorial and the story side of things, and you think more about the pictures and how it all looks, and how you convey a story through the sort of pictures that you're using. And Beyond, although I never got the credit, it was a lot of my creative that ended up on the screen. So the interviews were my idea, how we shot the interviews, the interstitials, how we chop and change from one person to another through sort of like that sort of fold. You remember those books where you could fold and it became a different person by, like, it was a sailor, then it was an astronaut, and then it was
a section goes.
Yeah, we kind of did that with the three girls, and that was my idea to do that, to show all different sides of them, but also you could go from Binky being there as her three to it being Lucy as a whole, but it'd be different parts of each of them until it made up the next person, and then you went into their story. So yeah, that was all sort of. So it was. Sorry,
I've heard of Binky. I don't watch those programs. That's those.
Yeah, Binky's great. They're all great, actually. So Binky's great. She's got 3 kids now. She's got a lovely dog called Pedro. Lovely dog.
Pascal.
Yeah, great dog. And then you got Lucy. She just had a baby with James. And then there was Rosie, and Rosie was starting up her own new business for inserts for really, really expensive handbags, like handbags that they're worth more than your house. Like this little handbag, it's mad how much money people are spending on those, like Hermes and a couple of other brands that I can't even remember, but very, very, very expensive brands. So it was all them. It was them moving on in their lives and growing up and being business people, and just high powered, very, very busy ladies.
Well, it must be really interesting. How long have you been in that industry of doing that type of programs? Because obviously you've done that and things like The Apprentice as well, like, which is kind of reality as well.
I kind of jump around, basically. Whoever's going to pay me, the next gig gets me.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I am. So luckily I can self shoot, I can direct crew, and I can edit produce. So there's usually, touch wood, something within the reality sphere that I can kind of tip my hat to. So at the minute I'm on the business show, and I end that at the end of this month, and I'm going on to a new Channel 4 show that I don't even know I can actually say about. So that's a brand new Series 1 show where I'll be in the edit. I won't have shot it. I won't know any of the stories. I won't have been out where they're shooting. But I will be editing it and working out the stories and how they intertwine over the series. So yeah, I can kind of do a few different things within my skill set.
It's cool that you're now involved with programs that you don't assume are that controlled, if you know what I mean. You've got a huge involvement in a program you assume just happens naturally, but it doesn't. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, so for example, you mentioned The Apprentice that I've worked on. That has to be all real. Like, we can't, as producers, say anything because it's real money on the line, right? So it's real money on the line. It's Lord Sugar's real money. It's not the BBC's money. It's Lord Sugar's actual money.
Right.
It's a competition show, so everything has to be fair. Like, we can't take any bias. Everything has to be fair across the board. So things are timed to an inch of their life. If something stopped in one, because also there's 4 different teams shooting around London, say, if someone stops for a technical reason, and we can't stop the other teams at that time, usually we'll try and stop them all, but we might not be able to because it might be time sensitive or something. What will then happen is the team that had to stop for, it'll only be like a minute. Their clock stops, and then once it starts again, it starts. But everyone across the board only gets 20 minutes, say, whether it stops or starts due to technical errors. It'll always only be,
and
just so it's always fair.
is Lord Sugar
but
part of the
also
production of that as well? Like, does he hone in on it, or do you
he's
set a task and
involved,
set
but
back?
yeah, he is involved, because again, but he doesn't like. What I'm trying to say is that there's on people think that it's kind of like preset from the start. It's not. Like, things can go one way or the other depending on how the task unfolds on the day, and we never know what's going to happen. Someone might do one chance thing that propels them to victory, or might do something that makes them ultimately fail that task, and they could have been a shoe-in for the money because of their business proposal, right? But then they've done this one stupid thing there, and it's all over for them. Like, there can't be, because it's real life, it's real people's money, and it's a competition. Whereas on Geordie Shore, I could say, "Oh, Chloe, just say that line again," or "Tell me this," or tell Nathan what you really think of him. On The Apprentice, you can't do that. It's you just sit back and you observe and document, and it's more what they're doing in front of you, and you just directing, because I'm not shooting that. I'm directing a crew to be like, "Oh, get that person. They're giving them a dodgy look," or "Get that. They've spelt something wrong on the screen that I can't tell them that they spelt it wrong," because that's part of their mistake.
That's the comedy element of it, yeah.
Exactly, but like, I can't step in and say, "Oh, just say that line again," or tell that person what you're thinking, because then if they get fired for saying that thing, they can then say, "Well, hang on a minute, I didn't want to say that. Jonny made me say that, and now you're firing me for saying that."
Yeah,
so
must be
that is a lot more hands off. You're a lot more hands off, and you observe, and you film.
Is there any involvement with the professionals, like when they do like a task sort of thing, like for instance, have to design a logo for a brand of chocolate or whatever?
No, they're not allowed. That's part of the rules. They're not allowed.
So the people, those professionals that are designing for, when they're in that room and they're presenting that pitch to the heads of those companies, that's all real, and their reaction.
The picture's all real. The design and the logo is all real. But what the designers aren't allowed to do is they can't give any sort of indication of whether they think that the logo is good or bad. They can't give their advice as to what colours they'd use or what font they'd use. They are literally a conduit for the candidates to design. It's unfair of us to ask a candidate to do the design because they might not have the skill set to do the design. So we always put a professional in there, so they've got the opportunity to create something that they want to create using the best sort of technologies that make logos.
But they're full concepts.
But it has to be the candidate's full idea, because at the end of the day, someone's going to get fired, and it has to be on them. It can't be on me. I can't say, "Oh, maybe use green or maybe use blue." I have to, and there's times when I want to say that sort of stuff, and you just can't. You have to hold your tongue. And I brief the designers. You can't help them, because if you help them and then someone picks up on a mistake, and it's your thing that you told them to do, and it's not their thing that they came up with,
you could lose
then
money.
They've got an excuse to say, "That wasn't me, that was the designer that told us to do that." So yeah, they're there, and they are professionals
to make sure it's them.
Yeah, they're there, and they're professionals in their own right. But yeah, they are kind of like had their wings clipped by me just to make it totally fair.
Yeah,
and it's all about
creatively. Yeah.
It's all about fairness. It's all about making it fair and putting it on the people that are up for the prize money, right? It's all about how they navigate.
It's clever because you clearly get some really fun shots of those professionals doing little snide looks, like when the team are saying, "Yeah, make it green," and the professionals going, "Okay," and clearly looks at the camera like, so because they're doing a crap design and it's their profession and they're being documented doing something really shit.
But most of the time the designers on it come on board because they enjoy the show and they love the show, and it's like, watch it all the time. It'd be great for my kid to see me on the show, and so it's a great show to work on. It has its headache moments, but it's probably the favourite reality TV obstocky. It falls in a weird space between reality and factual. it's more factual, obviously, because we can't dictate what they say, but it has format points which make it a bit more constructed, which is the waking up at 4 a.m, the getting in the black cars, the arriving. Those format points kind of lean it into a reality sort of side, but I'd say it's more factual. But what I'm trying to say is it's probably my favourite show to work on, because you have to use a lot of brain matter to make it, and you're not just going through the numbers like Geordie Shore. I could do that with my eyes closed. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to a nightclub tonight. I'm gonna make someone fall out with somebody. I'm gonna hope that someone pulls somebody, hope that someone necks on with somebody, and hope that someone swills somebody. If I've got all those ticked off, we can clock off. Whereas with The Apprentice, it's down to them, and you never know what they're going to do. You just never know what's going to come out the bag, and it keeps you on your toes. And it's long, hard days, but the crew are amazing. All my camera boys, all my soundies, all the researchers, all the APs, everybody across the board on The Apprentice, I like. And we have, like, it's nice to come back year after year and have a little hug with a cameraman you've not seen for 8 months, and like, we're back home. Let's go again. Yeah, that's nice.
Can I ask a really weird thing? Have you ever heard of a TV series called Stories from Soho?
No. No.
Okay. I don't know if it was a dodgy. I think there was something on Mandy.com or something, and really weird story. I met this guy and this whole production team, and they said, "Oh, we're pitching this as an idea for like a kind of Geordie, kind of Shore kind of vibe." They basically hired out like a really nice Mazda, and I was in Soho, and they dressed me up, and they're like, "You're going to pretend to be this rich, misogynistic asshole," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Okay, cool." And in real life, I'm parked up in this Mazda in this Soho park, and all these women going by, and like the camera's there, and I'm pretending that I've got stupid amounts of money, and I'm doing obscene things and saying obscene things. So I'm probably glad it hasn't seen the light of day. But the guy was like, "Yeah, this is going to be Soho Stories, so it's going to be like the next thing." And I was like, And then we just signed like a little waiver thing and all this stuff. And then I met this girl in a restaurant, and all this kind of weird stuff. And I was just like, the things you do to pay the bills when you're a working actor or a struggling working actor. And I was just thinking, I wonder if that ever is going to see the light of day, or if it was just weird.
I heard of that.
You never know what random things get picked up, though. You got to take your punt at everything, haven't you?
No,
yeah. Well, I got paid for it though, which was great. So it's like, regardless of having weird footage, like it was still, like you say, it's bread and butter, man. It's still a day's work, and it was fun, just like, ad-libbing in a park and being an absolute rich, asshole. Or pretending to be
there's
a
also
rich asshole.
talent to that. Like Jonny, you were saying, like you could do Geordie Shore stuff in your sleep, but that doesn't negate the talent. Dave round the corner couldn't do that. It still takes a lot of brain matter, like you're saying as well, to kind of to pick up on those nuances and going, "Oh, I can." The word exploit sounds terrible, but I could use that. I could improve that or tweak that and build something from it, from nothing. And you are creating that narrative. Although they're doing it, you've made that happen. That show wouldn't be where it is or come up with those plot points if you weren't there every day going, "Look at him, do that to them," or
you're almost a ghostwriter, Jonny.
Well, there's a whole team of writers before me, and then my aim on shows like Geordie is to basically tick off those things that the bosses want. And sometimes you come home and go, "We got it," and sometimes you go, "We didn't get it, but we got something better." And sometimes you come home and you go, "Didn't get any of it, and we had a shit night out. Sorry, but we're gonna have to just make up what we can do with what we've got." And then then the next rung is the edit, right? So they can do all sorts in the edit to help you. And the good thing with Geordie is you've got the green screen to get you out of Dodge. So you always jump to someone's green screen for a funny YI or this, that, and the other, and you get out of it that way.
Are they drinking? Sorry, are they drinking real alcohol though? So like, if people are under the influence, they're going to do,
yeah, they're drinking. Yeah.
Crazy things anyway. Because like you're saying, if you're under
from when I started to now, obviously welfare within TV has become a bigger thing, quite rightly, within those sort of shows. And back in the day, it was bottles on the table and they could pour themselves. And now it's a lot more monitored. There's actually like drinks monitors that are out, and measures are poured properly. And between drinks, they've got to have water and stuff like that. But back in the old days, it was the Wild West. Yeah, there were.
That's a bit like our podcast. We had to stop drinking because like there was episodes where we were under the influence and we were just saying obscene things or things that weren't, you know, or we just fall asleep or like.
Yeah, this is
kind of
water.
like,
I usually it's been like
we've pulled it back because now we said we've got we've got healthy drinking habits now. So it's like, yeah, that's that was funny.
But yeah, writing and directing is where I want to go, and it'll always be the dream. Reality TV and my TV day job is what pays the bills, and it could be worse, right? I could be working in a warehouse somewhere and paying the bills.
We're scanning cucumbers a little,
yeah,
man.
Exactly. So I've got to count my blessings where they are.
It's a fun ride, and you get to go around the world and meet random people and do creative fun things.
Cause mischief.
That's it. If you're creative, you want to stay in the creative sphere.
That's it, and that's the other side of it. Like even a bit like what you said there, Drew, about the ghostwriter. Like you learn how a story arc comes together, no matter if it's a small interstitial sort of story between other bigger stories in a show, like Geordie Shore or The Apprentice or Beyond Chelsea, or you're learning how to pace something so it will last for an hour. And then you can transfer that into the page and write something and know that, within 3 minutes, this needs to happen. And my concentration or the audience's concentration would have fallen down by now. So I've got to inject it with something. And so you're always learning. There's always something to take away from everything.
I'd say that's almost a higher skill, though, if I'm honest, though, because the fact that it's not stuff that's scripted and was pre-planned like a short film or a movie. You're working with real people in a real environment, and you're having to think on your feet. How can I weave where I want the audience to go on this journey, and which character are we following, and how am I going to make you care? Or you're always creating villains and heroes with real life people in real scenarios. And that's a serious, man. That's a serious.
I think that what I learned really quickly on Geordie was actually not overproducing. Don't keep jumping in and reminding them of things that they need to talk about. Like they may take a while to get round to it, or it may come out in a way that you don't expect. But the more you keep jumping in and killing the vibe, the less you're going to get. So just let it flow. Let it flow for a while. And if you haven't got it, then go back in and remind them. Really, really good chat, guys. You just forgot to talk about the time when this and that happened. How are you all feeling? Let me jump out and then go for it. And then you go. And then that can be weaved in, because they're all still in the same spaces. That chat can be weaved into the original chat, however you want it. But you just have to let them.
You got to let it breathe sometimes, haven't you?
Let it breathe. Give them enough rope to do what they need to do with that rope, and then
it's almost like a human version of the David Attenborough things, you know, where it takes them years where they're just watching a lizard try to like eat a spider, and they're like, they can't like go on lizard, get the spider. They like they just have to be patient.
Shot in a tank. Half of David Attenborough stuff shot in like little mini sets. It's not all out in the open. So even him, who I've met twice, even him sets things up. Yeah, I met him when I was 4. He pinched my cheek on the London Underground. I barely remember that, but my mum was and then I was working on another show, and I actually turned down David Attenborough, but then was told by my boss to fucking have a day off and go and do it. I got a call to go and direct this thing for Radio 1 in the National History Museum, where he was pranking people with this VR thing.
Oh, his voice doing it.
For Radio 1, they've made this VR thing where you put the VR on and David Attenborough in VR world is sat in front of you, showing you like whale bones and stuff, because it was a new thing that the museum were doing. But the prank was that I think it was like BBC Radio 1 presenters were coming in to try it for the first time. They put it on. They were playing along with it, doing all stuff in like sort of virtual reality world. And then with plinky plonk music, David Attenborough comes and sits in the seat where he is in virtual reality. So then when you take off the mask, the real life David Attenborough's sat in front of you. So yeah, I met him there as well. But yeah, I got the call, and I was working on an edit. I think it was Geordie, actually. I was working on the edit of Geordie. It was either Geordie or Just the Two of Us. And I said, I can't. I'm working tomorrow in the edit. I can't do the shoot. I'd love to. I'd always wanted to work with David Attenborough, blah, blah, blah. And then I went and told my boss, and he was like, ring them back right now. You are not working on this show tomorrow. You're going to work on that. So luckily I managed to call them back just before they hired anybody else. And yeah, I got a selfie with
What a ledge, though. That's really nice that they're thinking about your career rather than...
lovely Dinkesh. That was a lovely guy, Dinkesh, who's given me a few. Like, I've done a few documentaries with him because I've done documentaries as well. Got a couple of documentaries that I'm really proud of. Filthy Business, which is a nice light-hearted one about two boys in Birmingham. Shot that myself, edited that with an editor, did everything, chose the music for that. That was all me. I did the photos for that one. That was the landing page. When you find it, that's my photo. And then I did Britain's Most Wanted Motorbike Gangs, which was an amazing experience. My first ever producer-director credit. Basically, I'd been doing a bit of junior work, and then some small company saw something in me and went, "Do you want your own producer credit?" I was on X Factor at the time, and I was like, "Yeah, right." They're like, "You got to start next week, though." So I jumped ship of the X Factor, never got asked back to that, and yeah, like.
Well, you had your own X Factor that you had to go and pursue, man.
Yeah, and that was cool. That was following like these sort of like. Called Bike Life. They're the kids that go around doing wheelies on motorbikes and stuff, quite dangerously. But the guy that I was following, Wavy, he's gone on to do really good things now. He rides for like Red Bull, does loads of like stunt riding for movies, for adverts and stuff. Yeah, he's come from tough background, but like, yeah, he's really good now.
There's a theme here, mate. Everyone that works with you goes off to do amazing.
Yeah. So if you need.
Oh, it's going to happen for you, man. Mate, it's going to happen for you. I was just saying that ironically, this episode of the podcast is almost like some of the best pitching of films I've ever heard. We're big movie buffs, man. So like, just send them a link to this podcast and be like, "Hey, there's some of our best ideas for movies I want to make."
Genuinely, Drew's a working actor in well, he just was in London for a long time. He's in Brighton now, but yeah, if you need someone, he's probably well up for it. And if Ethel becomes a feature length and you need Shifty Lad number 2 back again, give me a shout.
There's this short that's just done the rounds from it's a 1-page short, which is why I want to make it, because if I can't make a 1-pager, then what am I doing in the business, right? It's 1 page. It's set in a universe that I wrote a 15-pager on prior, but that's too hard to kind of do now. I wanted Miriam for that actually, but she's a bit too. It's a bit too involved for her now. She probably couldn't do the bits and bobs that I needed her to do for that. But it's that the original is called Shafted, and it's a zombie movie set in a elevator shaft. It's an elevator's broken down. There's 3 people in it, a boy and girl that are splitting up in an awkward sort of space, and an old lady with her chihuahua. The old lady dies, but then reanimates as a zombie. And fucking Generation Z stole my idea. I don't care if I get sued by whatever his name is. Generation Z or Z stole my idea. So it's two like young couple trying to survive whilst this old lady zombie is trying to kill them, but they're also splitting up, so they're also having a lover's tiff whilst trying to survive this zombie apocalypse. That was the 15 minutes. It's a one location, so it's still quite cheap to do, but it's a 15-minute to 3 actors. This one is called Night Bus, set in the same universe at the exact same time but a different location. There's a guy waiting at a night bus stop for his bus to come, and it's basically him facing off with the void, the blackness void behind him, and it's all being the sound design. There's barely any dialogue. It's one page, barely any dialogue. It's about, those sort of moments when you sat alone in the dark and you get a feeling that there's something watching you and there's something out to get you. It's kind of like vibing off of that. Anyway, he nothing's there. Maybe a fox or something in the bushes, and the bus turns up. He gets on the bus, and those alarms that we're getting now, like national security alarms? Well, one of those, like, everyone gets it at the same time, saying there's been
like do not go out.
Yeah,
like,
there's like a fucking nuclear bomb coming at us or whatever.
Yeah.
He gets that same thing has happened in the elevator in the other one. Oh, sorry, the cleaner just came out talking about zombies, and someone's trying to go into
the door trying to open.
Yeah, so he gets onto this bus. It's all quiet, and then this bleeping noise goes off on his phone, which he's been kind of glued to because he's worried and he's trying to do stuff. He looks up and the whole bus is full of zombies, and obviously one of the tropes of zombies is a noise triggers zombies to attack you. So it's a comedy, like it's supposed to be. It's a horror, and then the final thing is him going, "Oh fuck," and then it cuts. So that's the next one that I want to make. It's a 1-page set at one location. I actually want to make it in a LED volume, so we would never have to have an actual physical location. We create it and then project it.
In a still bus where you've just got things moving.
Well, it's not even a bus; it's a bus stop. It's a bus stop.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you don't need a moving bus. Yeah.
But like my vision for the bus stop is very, very particular, and I don't think I can find one that kind of ticks all the boxes. So I'm going to have to make my own one in 3D space and put it into a volume.
That's a really clever, because you can almost have episodic short films that are all connected in the same universe.
Yeah, there is. There's Shafted. There's Nightbus. There's Meals on Wheels, which is another part of the same sort of.
Man, I think that's genius, man.
Same sort of universe, and yeah, so it's kind of like got that Attack the Blocky sort of vibe to it, but with zombies basically. Yeah.
I did a zombie ad that I'll send you. Well, I think I sent you a link to you, Kev, really briefly. Do you remember that one about Power Tape?
Oh yeah.
Where so like I did a couple of long auditions to go up for one of the lead guys who has a shotgun. I had this great moment where I was blasting zombies, which is a dream of mine. I've wanted to do ever since I was a kid. I love zombie kind of apocalyptic stuff. And they said, "Oh, your character gets bitten, so he turns." And I was like, "All right." And they're like, "We're filming it out of sequence." And I was like, "Oh, cool, okay." So I was like, "Wow, I get to be a hero and a zombie." And then basically they film all that stuff in this. Oh God, where was it? It was in London. It was Catford. They filmed like one of the kind of like abandoned kind of like supermarket things there, and we're there at like 5 in the morning, something crazy. Anyway, we're filming all this stuff out of sequence, and then they turned to me at one point. One of the producers says, "Listen, we're running out of time and budget, and we're not going to be able to do all of the hero stuff now." And I was like, "Oh, what?" So essentially, I ended up being just a zombie extra. But the advert is so cool. They had, I can't remember what the technical term is for people that have missing limbs. There's a word for those people. I can't remember. Amputees. Sorry, that was it. And I was hanging out with some of these really cool amputee guys that one person was missing a leg, an arm, and then they put on like fake arms and legs so that they could get blown off when they had the squibs go off. Yeah. And it looks really cool. And they used a bit of CGI at the end where one of the guy's hands comes alive and then crawls towards the tape, and the zombies start sellotaping themselves. It's really darkly comic, man. We'll have to send you a link to it.
So it was trying to sell the tape.
Yeah, it's the most powerful tape on the planet. That's why zombies are using it. Yeah, duct tape. It's genius, though, man. I'm
falling off during a zombie attack.
Yeah. They're like blasting him, and they're like, we're just sellotaping, zombies back together, and all the horde of zombies are sellotaping everyone. It's really funny, man.
Mad. Well, anyway, really we've taken up tons of Jonny's time. We've gone.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I'm just at work and everyone's closing down around me, so
Well, we'll have to get you on another time if you're up for. We'll talk about other projects and stuff like that. But or just shoot the breeze, because we didn't talk about loads of stuff. I was going to just ask you about what you're watching at the moment and stuff like that. But we can go into
Department Q. I've just watched Department Q on Netflix.
Put that on my
really,
list,
really good. Yeah, really, really, really good. And the side character Akram, I think his name is, deserves his own spin-off origin series. Like his story arc is amazing.
I've heard great stuff about
I've not watched a film in a long time, actually. I've not been to the cinema in a long time, which is bad of me. And at the minute, I'm living on a boat without a TV, so I'm having to download stuff before I watch it. Okay. So, oh no, fuck! I did watch a really good film on the flight out for a shoot. I can't name where I was going, but it was a long haul flight, so I watched a lot of fucking films. Bring Them Down, Irish film.
I don't know. Bring Them Down.
It's about two. The premise is about two farmers fighting over a bit of land with sheep on it. But that premise sounds so simple, right? But then you watch the film and it's so fucking good.
Yes, yeah, that's with Barry Keoghan in it. Yeah, Christopher Abbott.
So good. Yeah, very understated, very underrated Irish film. Yeah, but really good.
Man, Irish and British films have got it nailed. They've got the grittiness, realism, and just proper gritty, can't take your eyes away from stuff.
Doesn't always have to be a happy ending, is what I like about that. It's real.
Yeah, British stuff. You never know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll have to end there. Thank you very much, Jonny, for joining us.
That's all right.
Thank you. Legend.
Cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Bye.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.
Oh, wait! Just before you head off to listen to another one of our episodes, I'm not going to ask you to give us a follow and a 5-star review or follow our social media such as Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, although that is your choice. But we would like to tell you about a new website we have called ragewhale.tmill.com, where you can get some merchandise to support us. Hoodies, t-shirts and mugs. There is a link here and on our social media profiles. Thank you so much for listening again. See you next time.